Compact video switchers are great, but what's not great is still needing to lug around a giant monitor in order to have a multi-view and actually use the switchers. That's what makes these two products super interesting to me. They're compact video switchers, but they both have a screen directly on the front that actually shows the switcher's multi-view as well as other settings. That means these are truly compact. You can just chuck this in a bag and you have everything that you need in order to produce a show. That's super cool, but are they actually any good? I think they can be for the right person. So let's dig into what these do well, what they do poorly, and maybe who I would recommend them for. So first up, let's look at what we actually have here hardware-wise. So this is the RGB Link Mini ISO. So this mixer has 4 physical outputs, but they can be either 4 HDMI or 4 SDI, or some combination of the two. That's super flexible, and you really love to see that, especially on a switcher this small. It's got hardware buttons for all of those different inputs, and then it can also control a PTZ camera using the Visca protocol. You've got a little joystick here as well as some buttons over here to actually make that happen. This box also has a multi-view out, an program feed out, a webcam feed out to feed into a computer, a USB port for recording or for loading images onto the unit, as well as aux in and out for your audio, and a network port in order to connect to the internet and control it from a computer. It's powered off of a single USB-C cable, which is awesome because it can be plugged into a pretty normal wall wart and get power that way. And then it has a physical power switch here. So overall, as far as this package goes, they pack a lot in here. It's a pretty sweet unit. It can record and it can also stream to multiple RTMP destinations all at the same time. However, even though the name is the Mini ISO, it can't actually do an ISO recording. So just be forewarned about that. It also has a 1/4-20 mounting thread on the bottom of it, which is kind of interesting. I haven't really seen this in a video switcher before, but in something this size, that actually seems super convenient. You could mount it up right here in front of you and just have full access to everything that's going on, especially if you were actively running a camera while using this. So I could see that actually as being a huge selling point to the right person. This one over here is the Cinetrique Mixer Plus. It's definitely less featured than the RGB Link here, opting instead for only 4 HDMI inputs. It does still have your multi-view out and your aux out, but those can actually be programmed to output anything. I think that might be true on the Mini ISO as well. Still has your network port for software control, but you cannot stream directly from this unit. Instead, just like the other one, it has a webcam out, so you can plug it into a computer and stream via OBS or whatever your streaming software of choice is. This still gives you a lot of flexibility, but just know this cannot stream directly to an RTMP feed. Then you still have a USB port, again, not for recording on this one, but instead just for loading different files onto this guy. And then also 2 aux ins and a headphone jack. Similar to this, you also still have PTZ control with a joystick here. That seems to be a common theme on some of these cheaper switchers. I wasn't able to play around with this because I don't actually have any PTZ cameras, but I can see how that would be super appealing, especially for something with a screen built in here, because that truly then makes this your one-stop shop for controlling your entire stream, whatever that may look like. Both of these also have the normal features you would expect from any video switcher: upstream, downstream keys, picture-in-picture, that sort of thing. One more key difference of the RGB Link versus the Cinetrique is that this screen is actually a touch screen, which means all of your menu control actually happens with taps. You can use the knobs, but I actually found them to be kind of laggy as you're adjusting things, making it almost impossible to actually do anything with any kind of precision. I found the touchscreen much more responsive, but I still found the menu structure kind of frustrating in order to actually find what I wanted to do. It's clearly built touch first, but the organization is just not there for me. Even from the switcher as a whole, I kept not really understanding why these keys were turned on seemingly, or these different sources were live and not live. It just didn't really feel intuitive to actually use this device. It does have a lot of creature comforts, like some audio controls here directly built into the surface, but in my particular use case, those are not super helpful. I can see how they could be if you're producing something where you're having to adjust audio levels a lot, but for me personally, it's not really there. I would have liked to see a lot more effort put into the flow of this unit and actually using it, navigating the menus, and making sure everything was super clear. Conversely, the Cinetrique here doesn't have a touchscreen. Instead, you navigate through all of your menus using this knob, and it gives you some menus down along the bottom. I actually found these laid out in a much easier to understand way. Everything was grouped very nicely. You could move through them very fast. The UI was extremely responsive, especially for a unit this small and inexpensive. I could control everything I realistically wanted to from here. And both of these also have some software control that you can use on a computer. I didn't have great luck getting it installed on a Mac, but I was able to on a PC without too much issue. It doesn't really give you a lot of extra functionality that you don't have directly on the switcher, but if you wanted to control it from a computer rather than being directly next to the device, it is cool to see that it's there. So all in all, yeah, they're pretty normal mini compact switchers. But again, the main trick is the screens directly built in. So how do they look? Well, on the mini ISO, honestly, I just don't love it. The screen has a bunch of graphic overlays on it that are all pretty low quality. There might be a way to turn them off in the settings, I'm honestly not sure. But realistically, a lot of people use devices like this right out of the box exactly how they come. So the fact that I would have to dig around in the settings in order to turn that off is honestly annoying enough, and I don't like it. The Cinetreek, on the other hand, is a pretty simple interface. It shows me exactly what I want to see and basically nothing else. But there is one little issue. It's kind of a big issue, actually. It's almost like it was clipping on highlights. And I don't mean things that were totally blown out in my images. I mean like a normally exposed image in one of these multi-view windows was showing up like super crazy clipped out, like I was looking at a weather map or something, and I'll show you an example of that on the screen. If I plugged in a separate monitor to actually look at the multi-view, these look totally fine and there weren't any actual problems with what was coming into the unit. It's just that this screen for some reason couldn't handle it. Now that's something that could definitely be worked around if you were doing all of your exposure directly on the camera and you were only using this kind of as a reference or for your menu. But seeing a correctly exposed image blown out and kind of impossible to actually view directly on this screen kind of makes it lose a little bit of value to me. Another thing to talk about is performance. This guy was super snappy, responded to everything I was doing extremely quickly, whereas the RGB Link was really just laggy, everything that I did. I would change inputs and there would be a split second and sometimes up to like a half a second delay to actually switch the camera that I was trying to control. When you're talking about a live production switcher, that kind of feels unacceptable and is not what I would expect for something like this. Build quality on both of these feels fine. I mean, they're definitely plastic with maybe a little bit of metal in there, but they're pretty light. It feels like you could throw them in your bag and not be too worried about them rattling around and breaking or adding too much weight to what you were carrying, but don't expect to break through any windows with these super easily. Definitely comparable to like an A10 Mini or something like that. They feel very similar construction-wise. And speaking of the A10 Mini, that's obviously the elephant in this room, right? That is kind of the compact switcher. I know I've talked on this channel about like the OC Ghost streams and other things like that, but in our world today, the industry norm for a compact mini video switcher is the A10 Mini. So how do these kind of stack up against that? Well, the A10 Mini line generally only has HDMI or SDI inputs. So the RGB Link beats that in that situation, but it lines up kind of with the Mixer Plus over here. However, the A10 Mini also only has a single HDMI output, which can only be a multi-view or a program feed. Meanwhile, these both have two outputs and have a multi-view built right in. So as far as outputs go, these actually blow the A10 Mini away. They also both have the ability to actually control the settings directly on the unit without having to have any external computer and software control to do that. Whereas the A10 Mini, in order to get into those deeper settings, you realistically need another computer. And obviously you need a separate monitor just to see your multi-view. Whereas these, again, have it built right in. I will say the software control option for the A10 Mini as well as companion control are far and above what these have available to them. So when you are controlling it with a computer, you're having a much better time. It's more just the necessity of that makes it kind of a toss up there. But, and I say this a lot, the A10 Mini has a lot of brand recognition as well as a lot of support online. When I was looking at both of these units online, there's really not a lot of support there. They have their manuals and whatnot, but you don't have a lot of users talking about them, talking about problems they've had or solutions that they found. And although the A10 Mini isn't perfect, it has problems. There are usually people talking about workarounds or things that they've done in order to solve those issues. There's so many resources available to you that while that's not technically inherent to the unit itself, it's something that has to be talked about when you're talking about comparing it to these units. So as far as support goes, I'm definitely giving that to the A10 Mini. And finally, let's talk about your actual outputs for your streaming and your recording. The A10 Mini on its own can't stream or record. You have to plug it into a computer. Whereas the Pro version actually can stream and record to an external USB. So that puts it more in line with the RGB Link. The Cinetreek definitely falls behind in that, only having that USB output. But finally, let's talk about price, right? Because none of this matters if the price is wildly different across all of these. And well, that's where things get kind of interesting. The A10 Mini Pro today is $325. So that's a 4 HDMI input, 1 HDMI output, can stream and record unit. If we look at the Cinetreek, this is actually $289 today. So it's about $35 cheaper. It can't stream or record directly, although it can go directly into a computer, but it does have your multi-view situation here. So for 10% off the A10 Mini Pro, you actually get the multi-view, but you're losing your recording and streaming. That might be a trade-off for some of you that you're willing to make. It might not. It really depends on what you're looking for. Whereas if we look at the RGB Link, this one's kind of a harder sell for me. at $509 today. This is far and above beyond the cost of the A10 Mini Pro and the Cinetrique. And yes, it's doing more things, right? And both of these can control PTZ cameras, and this has a more varied set of inputs. It can stream to multiple RTMP destinations, right? You have a few different things that this does that the A10 Mini Pro doesn't. The problem is, I don't think it does any of them well. The whole unit lags, the on-screen display is not great, the menu experience is tough, there's no support. At about $200 more than the A10 Mini Pro, and even more than that, more than the Cinetrique here, I just don't feel like it makes any sense. Obviously you have the convenience of the screen, but honestly, I just don't think it's worth it at that price. I would much rather spend my money on this that has a screen and then a separate stream encoder, or directly into my laptop. Honestly, those are getting so good these days that you don't even need a hardware encoder most of the time. So do you need these? I mean, definitely not. But if you're looking for something that has a multi-view built in, just for some quick projects on the side, you want to be able to throw this in a bag and set it up ready to go without having to lug around a monitor with you, I'm definitely going to recommend the Cinetrique Mixer Plus. Now, again, I don't have any longevity tests. I don't know how well this is going to hold up over time, but if you're just talking about something for those quicker projects and you don't want to bring a monitor, this guy works pretty well, and at under $300, I mean, I can definitely recommend it. Hopefully that helps you guys. I'll have these both linked in the description below if you want to go and read some more about them or potentially purchase them because you have different thoughts on which one actually works with your workflow. Look, there's so many products out there, and some are from names we know, some are from names we don't know, and I'm just hoping to bring some clarity about some of the ones you maybe don't know, but maybe actually help you in your workflow. So comment down below if one of these actually sounds super exciting to you, or if you use one on the regular and I missed something. Thank you guys for watching the channel. I really appreciate it, and let me know what else I can do for you. Until next time.